Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad to be back with you. And I'm going to read another story, a chapter out of the book Little Cabin by the River by Joyce Neal. And for those of you who'd like to know, this is what Joyce looked like. Chapter 2, Turning 3. One breezy spring day right after breakfast, Mama said that it was my birthday. I didn't really know what that meant, so she explained to me that I'd been born exactly 3 years ago on March 6th. Then she told me she was so happy about it, she was going to make a cake for supper. She said that I could help her just as soon as I put baby Mike down for his nap. The early mornings seemed to drag by slowly. When will that baby get sleepy? I wondered. I wanted him to go to sleep right away so I could bake my first cake. Mama said he'd get tired faster if I played with him. So I did my best to wear him out, but still took a really long time. I chased him, and then I had him chase me around the furniture and under the beds. I tickled him and made him laugh so hard it made his face turn red. Then Mama told me I should stop before he threw up. "Why don't you read to him?" she asked. "Maybe that'll get him settled down again." So I dutifully found one of his picture books, and pointing to each picture, I made up something that I thought explained the scene on that page. Sure enough, pretty soon Mike's eyes began to droop, and his mouth began to drool. "He's ready," I piped up with a grin. After Mama scooped him up and took him off to his crib, she went straight to the kitchen and pulled a chair right up next to the cupboards for me to stand on. Then she tied one of her aprons around me, clear up under my arms, to keep my clothes from getting batter, cake batter that is, all over them. Mama then set out the flour, sugar, vanilla, and other ingredients that we needed on the countertop. Then she took out her big mixing bowl and the hand-turned egg beater from the drawer. Now, probably none of you have ever seen those, but when I grew up, they had them. And they were kind of about this long. There, about that long. And they had beaters at the bottom, and you would crank like this, and the beaters would turn around. First, Mama tore off 2 pieces of wax paper and put one on top of the other side of the counter. Then she set a round cake pan on top of them in the middle, so the wax paper was sticking out on every side. Taking a pencil, she drew around the edges of the pan. Then she lifted the pan, and there was a perfect circle of paper. Then she handed it to me and I had my little scissors. "Here," she said, "cut very carefully on the lines I've drawn. I will put these in the bottom of the cake pans to keep the cake from sticking." While I was doing that, Mama smeared shortening on the sides and bottoms of the pan and then dusted them with flour. Shortening, some of you'll know what that is and some won't. It's a fat. It's a type of fat. I tried hard to cut the circles just right, and Mama said I'd done a good job. After that, she let me sift the flour and other dry ingredients onto another sheet of wax paper. Then she let me help crack the fresh eggs from our very own chickens. It was all so much fun, mixing and cracking and stirring all the stuff together. I didn't want Mama to help at all. But my arm got tired from turning the handle on the egg beater as the batter got thicker and thicker, so I had to admit I needed help before it was all over. Still, it was a joyful time in the kitchen with Mama. The cake smelled so good as it came out of the oven, softly browned on the top. Mama let me poke a straw from the broom to the center to be sure it was done, and then place the layers carefully on wire racks to cool while she made the frosting. The popular recipe at that time was 7-minute frosting. Mama said my cake was important enough to be topped with that special frosting. But I could only watch and could not help on this part, because the frosting had to be cooked on the stovetop for, well, what else? 7 minutes, while the cook kept the egg beater whirling all the time to make it fluffy. When the frosting was sky-high fluffy, Mama took it off the heat and added a few drops of food coloring to make it pink. It was gorgeous stuff. It tasted like cherries. Now came the hardest part, waiting for Daddy to come home from work so we could eat supper and have some cake in the middle of the week. Finally, late in the afternoon, Daddy came swinging through the door with his empty lunch pail, hungry for something to eat. Supper was quickly put on the table, and Daddy said the blessing. I ate all my vegetables without complaining, but then I had to sit and watch the others still finishing their food. I wanted them to hurry. At last, everyone was finished, and Mama brought the tall frosted cake to the table. Then she did the most unexpected thing. She brought out 3 small pink candles and stuck them right down into the lovely frosting. She lit them with a match and slid the cake in front of me while she and Daddy sang happy birthday. I was very happy when they sang to me, but I felt kind of shy too because everyone was looking at me. Now take a big breath and blow out all the candles, Daddy said enthusiastically. He was older, so he already knew everything about birthdays, of course. I was just learning, but I inhaled until I thought my lungs would pop. And then, with a blew as hard as I could to make every little candle flame go out. Everyone clapped and cheered as I beamed from ear to ear. While Mama cut the cake into slices, Daddy got up from the table and left the room. He returned with a big lumpy package wrapped in pretty paper. He handed it to me and said, "Open it." I tore off that paper as fast as I could. I had no idea I would get a present, too. Inside the package was a huge rag doll with yellow yarn hair and 2 black buttons for eyes. I'd never seen such a big doll ever before. She wore a pretty flowered dress and a hat to match, but the best part was that she was the same size as me. I had to hold her under her arms, and when I held her so that she wouldn't drag on the ground and ruin her pretty sewed-on shoes. She was wonderful, almost as good as having a little sister that I'd been asking Mommy to get for me. She was my twin. Over the next few days, we were inseparable. That means always together. I named her Cynthia and dragged her everywhere with me. We ate and slept together, and we talked continuously. Then I discovered she could wear my clothes, so I began to dress her in my outfits. Although I tried, I couldn't wear her dress. It was just too small. Cynthia was my constant playmate, and I loved her so much. She began to get dirty, and her hair began to come undone. But that just made me love her even more because she was beginning to look more and more like me. Well, I think that was a nice story. When I was a little girl, my mom and dad got me a big doll too. And she had beautiful hair. And I took her outside. And you know what I did? I took my little scissors and I cut her hair. I cut her hair clear off. She was almost bald. Well, my mom wasn't very happy about that because all of her pretty hair was gone. But sometimes that's what little people do. Well, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I hope you enjoyed this story. I want to pray blessings on you in your house and when you're out of your house, in the day and the night. And whatever you do, keep dreaming. Remember, I love you. I really do. Good night. God bless you.